Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out AmItheA whole. Story 1. AITA for not giving my sister a clean plate. At dinner last night my sister wanted a second helping, so I took her plate and got her one. She was upset when she saw the plate and asked why I brought her a dirty plate. I said it was her plate that she was just eating off of. She said that was nasty and I should have gotten her a clean one. I think that since she was the one just eating off of it, it can't be that dirty. My father said that was indeed ill-mannered, although said she was worse for calling me on it in front of everyone. I think it's silly to get a new plate. The only germs on it were her own. Story 2. AITA for giving my BF the cold shoulder over a party. For some context, my BF, 20 male, and I, 19 female, have been together for 9 months. We had been friends since 13 but lost contact after collage and reconnected around 11 months ago. A few months after dating he invited me to a party his friends were hosting. The party was 2 days and 1 night. And we stayed over his friend's uni flat for the night. A few days after party I found out one of his friends, who we'll call Lei, was making the whole friend group hate me and said he hated me a lot because of what I did during the party. These are some of the examples he gave. I took a shower at 8 AM, I cleaned the house wrong when everyone was asleep, I bought food to make breakfast and dinner, my voice was annoying and I was childish for saying thank you to the hostess, his GF. Me and my BF were extreme upset over this behavior and my BF tried to correct it but his friend's impression of me are what Lei has said the others were too drunk to remember. A few weeks ago I found out my BF was hiding a upcoming party that Lei was hosting and he was going to. We got into an argument about it and I said I felt betrayed and disrespected. I reminded him how Lei treated me and how he also hated it. My BF just said I can't control who he is friends with and I agreed, but I've been upset since and been giving him the cold shoulder. My friends and family believe I am in the right but I don't know. Am I the asshole? Edit. I have been talking to an old school friend Mitch. After a little chatting I found out he is a flatmate of Lei. Turns out the party I went to was not even his party. It was his girlfriend's party. Lei hated that his girlfriend really liked me at the party. She is bi. ANS according to Mitch. Lei has been abusive to Emma, his GF, ever since the party. The party was in December. Mitch had also told me Lei is a diagnosed narcissist. Turns out he hated me because I made him look bad because I thanked his mum for dropping us off at the train station and Lei also stalked my social media and found out I was autistic. Lei is known to be very ableist. Story 3. AITA for getting annoyed a girl wouldn't share her machine at the gym. I've seen this asked on this sub a few times but I still wanted to see what people thought of my specific case. I was at the gym today, doing my own thing as always and finishing up my workout. I only had one more main workout on the lateral raise machine. I walked over and saw that a girl was already on it. No big deal, I thought, I'll just wait behind her and relax. I don't mind taking a break to scroll through Reddit anyways because I'm almost done anyways. As I'm scrolling through Reddit for about 10 minutes, I can't help but notice that the girl using the machine is kind of fiddling with the machine, doing maybe 3 to 5 reps and then sitting there on her phone or just listening to music. TBH, I know it's not my business whether or not she's actually being productive with her workout or not but at the same time, 10 minutes has gone by and I want to finish up already. So I walk over to her, and politely say to her, excuse me, sorry to bug, but do you have a lot more on this machine? Something I've asked to a lot of people in my gym career. I can tell right from the beginning that she seems standoffish because she doesn't even take the time to take out her AirPods before giving me a look as if to say go away. I have to repeat what I say again before she is willing to take her AirPods out to actually hear me / address me. After asking her again how many more sets she has, she responds that she doesn't know how many more she has and that she's just trying to work out. I then ask her if it's cool that I work in which she gives me a dirty look and says no. I just want to be able to work out. I respond, okay but, indefinitely. And she says I'm just trying to work out. It seemed like she was getting defensive over me asking her at all and I told her that I'm not being rude by asking, This is pretty normal thing to do. She responds with something to the effect of I know that it's normal but I just don't want to share. I want to use it until I'm done. I was honestly fucking frustrated at this point because she had already been on the machine for a long time and when I politely asked her, she's telling me she doesn't know how many more she has and simultaneously is telling me she doesn't want to share either. So, how long am I going to wait then? She was also pretty rude and petty during this entire exchange while I was trying to be polite and respectful. I also thought that maybe she's new but it seems like she wasn't if she knows that people asking to join her is the norm but she chooses not to do it. I ended up ending the conversation by saying, well, I don't know what's going on in your life to be acting like this but I genuinely hope it gets better because you're acting rude. I know people aren't obligated to share if someone asks but if you're going to just fuck around with the machine for as long as you want, with no timeline on when you'll be done, isn't that kind of a dick move, AITA? Story 4. AITA for not backing up my husband when he grounded our daughter. Background: our daughter, 10, has a condition known as ARFID, Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. She also has anxiety and ADHD and is a high-maintenance child. She is in therapy and on meds, but the food issue has not gotten better. She has panic attacks when you ask her to eat something new. And before someone says not to feed her and she will eventually eat, that doesn't work. She will just not eat all day. This is an actual psychiatric disorder. My husband made a deal with her recently. If she tries any food he asks her to for 2 weeks, she can get a new kitten. This is a bet that he won't lose, her anxiety and fear over food is too great. But she did try a few new foods. But then one will trigger her anxiety and she will panic and then have to start over. I am fine with this, even though I had no input into the deal. The furthest she made it was 2.5 days and then he asked her to try oatmeal, which she did, but then spit it out and he wouldn't let it count if she didn't swallow it. She couldn't bring herself to take another bite. I was iffy about that, but it was his deal with her so his rules. Today he asked her to try a peanut which she has tried before and hates. She freaked out because she already knows she can't stand the texture and was afraid she would puke. Instead of starting over, today he threatened to ground her. She was already in panic mode and melted down. I was upstairs WFH, and she runs up to me in tears. I hadn't heard all of what happened downstairs, so thought she must have yelled at her dad or been rude. She said no, it was just that she wouldn't try the peanut. I don't remember exactly what I said, but basically I didn't think grounding was fair in this case if her side of the story was accurate. Well, this pissed my hubby off, and even though he confirmed that it was only because of her refusal, he started yelling at me for not backing him up, because we have to be a team. I don't feel like him unilaterally deciding she is grounded is a team to begin with. I don't think I should have to back him up when I disagree with him, I feel I should stick up for my daughter. I don't agree with grounding/yelling about the food issues, because it never works, only making the situation worse. It's going to make it a negative experience in her mind and she will never like any food that she's made to try that way. So, AITA for agreeing with my daughter that her dad wasn't being fair? She is still grounded at this point, I didn't undo it. If it makes a difference, he did agree after our argument that I made valid points, but thinks I should have agreed with him in front of her and then discussed it with him later. Which wouldn't have made a difference, he wouldn't have reversed it because then she wouldn't respect him for going back on his word. Of course, him yelling at me for not backing him up was also done in front of our daughter. Story 5. AITA for telling my brother his wife is not allowed at family day. Hey everyone, so my brother has been with his wife for 6 years. She's always been an amazing sil and aunt to my babies, but recently she was unaware I was to my brother's house and happened to be meeting with her own mother at the same time. I always just walk in the house through the garage when I come over, but this time they were sitting on the back porch and I overheard her tell her mother she thought I was a bad mother for vaccinating my children and that at the end of day, I'll be sorry. She also stated she felt uncomfortable around us. I felt this was an attack on me and my family. I immediately left and called my brother to tell him what had happened and that I wasn't comfortable with her coming to my house anymore, which is where we host family day every weekend. He proceeded to tell me that what she said to her mother was in confidence and that I shouldn't have been sneaking around the house. I'm completely floored. I have no idea how to respond. Am I the asshole here? Story 6. AITA for telling my sister nothing she ever does is more important. My wife's school. My wife decided earlier this year she wanted to get a master's degree in business. She's been working full-time and attending school full-time on nights and weekends. She's taking summer classes so she can graduate sooner. One evening when I wasn't home from work, my sister, a single mother who lives with my parents, came by unannounced and just dropped off her kids, 6M and 3Y, because she had something to do. My wife was flustered because she was trying to get a mini paper done, and my sister said "F you, here are my kids" and left. I left work early and took the kids back to my parents, and I found out my sister had a random meet-up with her best friend because her friend got dumped. She thought this was important enough to disrupt my wife. We argued over how irresponsible my sister is, and I told her, nothing you ever do in your life will be as important as my wife's school or career. My sister started crying about how I was being so unfair to her. It's hard for her as a single mom at her age. I told her you made that mistake twice and thought everyone would help you. I'm not, and my wife's not. Raise your own kids. This made my sister cry harder, and my mom kicked me out of the house for disrespecting my sister and her children. This whole thing could have been avoided if my sister didn't act entitled to think she could drop off her kids in the first place. Story 7. AITA if I refuse to make amends with someone who wants help now that he's disabled by his own making. Daniel, 36M, and I, 38M, dated 6 years ago. A month into dating he complained about his eyes. He set up an appointment in an eye clinic and I drove him to it. After the doctor did some tests we got called into a meeting room where 4 doctors of that clinic were. They tell him they agree there's nothing wrong with his eyes but his optic nerves are too inflamed and he needs to urgently go to the hospital to treat it and he was at risk of irreversible damage to his nerves. They gave him all the documents of the tests, the medication and dosage, referrals with neurologists, etc. Daniel said he would call his uncle. He called him and the uncle said, "Go and get this medication and rest for the day." Well, his uncle is not an MD, he has homeopathic practice. He refused the doctor's advice from the clinic. Weekly his condition got worse to the point of blackout in one eye and he then reached out to his parents. Turns out his family is anti-scientific medicine, all of it. They agreed to continue with only uncle's treatment. So his friends and I were the ones taking care of him. His family lives out of town. But after almost missing a month of work he gets an ultimatum: get disability certification or get fired. To get certified for disability here you need to go through the public health system. So he goes to the hospital and gets admitted for treatment and evaluation. During his stay and treatment he started to regain his vision. His evaluation said indications of autoimmune. So he gets discharged with temp disability, prescription filled, and test orders. But refused more tests and medication and in less than a week later he was at square one again. His family came and took him back to his hometown but the blaming games began. I got blamed for pushing him to get admitted to a hospital repeatedly by him and his family. He left but we talked that he needed to heal and we will see it through. I continued to help him out as much as I could, i.e. devices with enhancements for visually impaired, accounts for podcasts and audiobooks, talk to him as much as possible, etc. But eventually he started to get hostile and angry and saying hurtful/insulting things to me. One day I was busy when he called me and I replied that night. Next morning he sent me a nasty voice note. I replied and said sorry about not being able to talk. He doubled down and called me all the hurtful things you can think of being told you. I cut him off after that interaction. But he sent me an email months later. He talked about where he was at in life. But he didn't apologize for what he said, just that he missed me and was thankful. I accepted his invitation to talk again, but he went for the same hostile and hurtful. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.